to this week's episode of Diesel and the Beard.
Welcome back, KFFL and friends, to episode 17 of Diesel and the Beard, featuring yours truly, the Beard, and my trusty co-pilot, Diesel.
The triple D's, eh? I love that. Diesel and the Beard back, episode 17. Another preseason, pre-draft primer for your ears.
And your fantasy hearts and your fantasy minds, and every one of you that's looking forward to a potential championship. We've got some exciting things on tap. So we're going to do a little bit of a KFFL pre-draft analysis. We're going to look at, there was a heavy wave. There were 5 trades that went down within the last 2 weeks. So I'd like to, pick your brain on that, Dorian. I think, there's some guys that weren't involved that are definitely interested in what we have to say. I'd like to take a look at week 1 schedule. There's some juicy matchups. And because we're live drafting this year, I'd like to chat on, etiquette and, some different things related to that. So,
Cool.
I guess let's kick it off with the first point here. So, this iteration of the draft is going to give us the opportunity to introduce the walkout songs, and there's 3 of them for each owner. So I've got mine in. Reynolds and Ed both have submitted theirs. Have you given? Do you know what you're using for yours, bro?
No, I was thinking about it the other day actually, but I got a few ideas. We got a few ideas for sure. Why 3? Are you gonna just use 3 for the first 3 rounds of picks? You get your own song, and then after it drops.
Yeah, essentially, so we're using Fan Draft in case the most of the guys in the league know now. But if you're not in the KFFL, there's a really cool service provided by Fan Draft, which is like a digital or virtual draft board. And so the experience is going to be pretty neat. Like, we're going to have the opportunity to have these walkout songs play an introduction. And I told you about what my plan is, having that physical old school draft board to kind of go with it. But yeah, so I've got mine posted to the Facebook page. So obviously we've got 12 days left until Fantasy Christmas.
Yes, 12 days. And yes, the league's kind of had little lulls in action, then it picks up, so it's exciting. Did you get any negative feedback from the last podcast? Because I didn't. And normally when we drop, I get you said this about my team, or you don't have respect for this guy, or you don't have respect for that. I got nothing.
I did a little, but I think there's 2 things. Number one, people are a little less reactive to us now, and number 2, it was early. To be honest, I think now from this point in is when a lot of the guys are really waking up. Guys like JV and Jake, and obviously self-confessed Reynolds doesn't even look at it until August. So, I think a lot of guys now across the industry are really now dialing it in. So, I think it's good that we're getting these little last housekeeping things figured out. So just to put a bow on the songs, guys, you take your time, but let's make sure that we aren't waiting until the night of. Yeah,
and I think your wording was right. People are less reactive now.
Yeah.
Because,
they see it's coming, right?
This is going to be coming into the second season of the pod.
Yep.
We had the idea to do, a co-hosted podcast on the league, and we want to touch on NFL news and notes, and then there's betting, of course.
Right.
So I think, less reactive. I think maybe because people were saying we had some say or some pullover.
Well, I think we did. We had an influence of some sort, a sway. Yeah. And maybe we did, man.
And so maybe that's changing. Maybe it's not as much. But we're not being influencers. We're just throwing options out there, and people are kind of opening their eyes to new perspectives.
And that's not untrue, man. And I think that if you are the thing is, we're calling it straight. We're not allowing people to be like, oh, but Kareem Hunt doesn't exist, and Nick Chubb is, the greatest. No, That just isn't fucking true.
Yeah,
And we
it's
say
true.
it, right?
Yeah.
Not that that's being said, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like
I
when
mean,
you
and there's
call it
always
straight,
bias. There's bias in fantasy. I can like a guy and you cannot like a guy, but that's kind of what's
100%.
good because we don't agree on everything, right? You might
Are
think a
you
guy's a
kidding me?
bus boy. Yeah, we agree. We disagree on most things. I
On
would
more
think.
things, which is good because that means we're both thinking for ourselves, and I think that's a huge thing that a lot of guys like. Ed made a comment. He was like, "We assume that other GMs know what they're doing." It's like when you're young, you assume
Right.
the adults all know what they're doing. But then when you become an
Right.
adult and you're smoking a joint with your grade 11 English teacher and you're
That's so
30,
true.
it's like, oh, wait, some of these motherfuckers don't know what they're doing,
It's
you know?
true,
But
man. Yeah, it's true. Um, so yeah, great. I think the draft's gonna be really fun this year. Do you want to touch a little bit more about what's going on that?
yeah, so we've got my office is located in the Fractal Workspace, which is a really unique co-working area in the west end of Kingston. And so we've got the lounge booked. I've got that taken care of. So we've got, hardcore Wi-Fi access. We're going to have a TV mounted on wheels. So we're going to have the virtual draft board. As mentioned before, I've ordered from Bruno's Draft Boards a 6-foot physical draft board. So you're going to actually be walking up with your pick, and then I'll actually be in unison clicking the virtual to update it. We've got Riverhead Brewery providing gourmet pizza and beer.
Nice.
And everyone should be arriving to Fractal at 6 p.m. Draft kicks off at 7. And I definitely recommend. I'm rewatching the league just to kind of get me into that live draft kind of vibe. So, just in closing on this, I think the most important thing is that we have an idea of numbers. So it's in Kingston. I think a lot of guys are looking forward to it, but I'd like to get an idea of who's officially coming so I can make the proper catering arrangements.
Yeah.
So when we post this, I'd like everybody to RSVP on this post so that we can get an idea. I think it's only fair that we get some commitment level here.
Well, we kind of ran through some numbers, and we think that pretty much the only one that we don't think can make it is Nielsen, right? Is that That's just
barring a Flakeville or something like that. Other than those unfortunate situations, and if you can't make it, just let me know now.
For sure.
Well, let me know now. I mean, there's no point in saying, or let us know now. There's no point in being like, yeah, I'll come, and then we pay for pizza and beer, and then you don't come. It's like, just that's fine if you can't come. Part of the reason we're using Fan Draft is because its point of emphasis was incorporating the remote drafters. So if you can't make it, obviously the more the merrier. The space is gorgeous, tons of room. My private office will be available to a select few. That's the war room, I'm going to call it, pre-draft.
Yeah.
But this is an opportunity for you guys to also, like if you go back to
side note, my office is across the hall.
That's true.
So if you guys need
it's like the Axis and Allies now, eh?
There's boardrooms that are going to be open.
Oh shit!
So there can be multiple war rooms in this one facility.
I love it, man. I think it's great. I think the more we can incorporate. What I wanted to say is, in 2017, you hosted the draft at your place. I believe that was the last live draft that we did. And one of the things that went down that night, the seeds of a dynasty franchise were sown that night. After the draft, I approached Ed physically, face to face, in a very friendly manner, and said, "What's it going to take to get my hands on a rookie Dalvin Cook?" And if it wasn't a live draft, I have too much time to sit there and look in the mirror and be like, and have pre-buyer's remorse. And so instead of going through that, I didn't have that chance. I had to act. I acted. And because we had that face-to-face, I'm certain that that's part of the reason it got done. So this year, you're going to have that opportunity.
Yeah. I would say everyone schedule a 30 minutes to an hour after the draft to hang around, eat pizza, drink beers, and maybe bang out a few trades. Most people love their team as soon as they draft it because they sell themselves on a guy at the draft. Oh, he's in a good position. Oh, he's got a new quarterback. Oh, he's had a hot camp. So they love all these players because they're little lotto tickets. So they don't like it. But they don't like. There's not a lot of right post draft moving, except for sometimes like a 1 through 5 for a big stud.
And a guy like JV.
And I've got my eye on a couple of people. So
Well, okay, so let's be honest. Half the league's never met Valdez, so he's going to be there, and everybody's going to get an opportunity to. I feel like the trade lines are just going to be so much more solid because everybody's got that feel, like a face to a name kind of thing. So if everybody can RSVP, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's August 29th, which is a Sunday. I don't think it'll be more than a few hours. So, come on out, have some fun, have some beers. Afterwards, I'm sure that we could all, meet up somewhere if people wanted to. So, whatever ends up going down, I'm just hoping that we can have a fun night and kick off this season because this is a big season, Diesel. Like, I mean, honestly, you guys can't let me win 3 in a row.
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Right?
I mean, God, the odds say no, but you're trying to break the odds, right? So.
Oh man, it's never been done. I'm trying to do something that's never been done in this league. Like it's just never been accomplished. And I think it's something like Favre's Ironman record. I think when something like that gets set, it's so hard to beat it. You know what I mean? Like it's like how many games in a row would someone have to play? It's insane.
You might force me into retirement. If you win 3 in a row, I'm going to seriously consider retirement from the KFFL, and I'll have to step down and let somebody else step in and manage.
You say that shit now, man. But if you watch me hoisting another fucking trophy, if you watch me hosting another trophy, you aren't gonna quit. You're gonna get sick to your stomach.
I've already done it. I'm already there. I'm already like you're going funny. For the fucking 5-piece chicken nuggets and fries.
The Thanos rock on the back there, that big one that he pulls out a fucking. Okay, so yeah, let's transition into the trade analysis because I think one of the most exciting things is to hear what someone else, especially OGs like you and I, people want to know, like what did I win the trade? Did I lose the trade? I have guys that come to me, and I'm sure you do too. That like my brother or other guys, they'll seek validation, and it's not that they don't think it was a good deal. It's that it really helps when someone's like, "That was a banger," or
yeah. I mean, yeah, and this is where people get mad at us. Actually,
and you know what? It is what it is because if your trade sucks. The proverbial D, then maybe it actually does, or maybe we're just preemptive and we're going to be putting our feet in our mouth because like at the end of the day, that Josh Allen trade. If anyone read through the preseason power rankings that I dropped 2 days ago, what I did was I included the excerpt from last year. I always do this now. I'm showing you what I predicted last year, and then I'm adding on to it for this year. And last year I chirped Cody. The trade that happened was the Mahomes for Josh Allen. And so if we did this trade analysis last year, we would have just blown it apart. It would have been like, this trade was nonsense. Everyone can tell that it was nonsense. And so, I think it's good to do this, get ahead of it because, this is shit that guys can hold us accountable for later in the season, but we're going to call it straight. So the first trade that happened was, the last trade that went down was Justin bringing in Allen Robinson in around 6. And then he sent to Ed Keenan Allen in around 3. So, if we rank the players, Allen Robinson was the better player, so obviously the trade made sense, but it was a WR10 in Allen Robinson for a WR13 in Keenan Allen. And Keenan Allen is one of the most target consistent guys in the league. What do you think about this trade? Going from a 3 to a 6? It seems lateral, and it seems a little bit...
It does seem lateral, and I would have to say Ed wins because he's getting a 3 and...
For taking Robinson out and really putting Allen in.
It's a little ticky-tacky, and it surprised me because I know Valdez loved Keenan Allen also. And also, can you mention who's wide receiver 10 and wide receiver 13 these are? Because, I don't know, is that your personal rankings on them? Because I know I use a few different variations, and I've actually seen one consensus that had this inverse. I think Keenan Allen was like an 11, and I think Robinson was like a 13 or a 14. So I've actually seen it reversed where
I have too.
Most of my rankings have, I think Robinson is the better. I think
his ceiling's higher. I think at this stage of the career, I think Allen's really unknown. He's going to get a lot of targets. They're going to be low depth targets, and at the end of he's got a low floor or a high floor. Sorry. So I don't hate the trade, but Was it necessary? That's kind of where I look at it, to
I
downgrade
mean,
the draft. I don't know.
yeah, that's where it comes for me. I think I did good. He gets a 3, and he gets a guy that's probably going to be roughly around the same. And I think there'll be some QB involvement with how these guys turn out too, right? So,
Oh,
you know,
100%. Justin Fields could be great, or Andy
right,
Dalton could
yeah,
be crap, or it goes both ways. But
and yeah. I
Herbert's
mean,
kind of
Fields.
shown, I think, a little bit more.
Well, he's had a small sample size,
What's
but yeah, in
interesting?
that sample size, he lit it up for sure.
Well, what's interesting is I heard something last week on my one of my pods. His last 6 weeks were not good. Like
Oh,
his
really?
season, yeah, his season was good.
Yeah,
But if you break it down to a consistency basis, he struggled. And you know what? That falls right in line with the narrative on the rookies having no tape. As the tape was produced, his tendencies were exposed, and
right.
they didn't have a great running game. So it wasn't like they were really truly two dimensional, right?
Yeah, and I think too many guys in this league, and maybe I shouldn't say this because they'll know, but I think too many guys in this league take a bird's eye view of a player and they
Yep.
go, "Oh,
Yep.
16 games, this was the yardage, this was the touchdowns, he's a beast." Well, they don't
100%.
break it up into segments enough, and they don't look at, yeah, but he had one game where he went 600 yards and threw 5 touchdowns, and then the last 6 games where he was like, 57% completion rate with picks inverse to TDs. I don't think they break it down enough into sections. And there's a lot of quarterbacks I've read that started hot and tailed right off near the end of the. But when you look at it as a whole, because their first half of this year was so hot,
Yep.
defenses weren't fresh yet. Like Russell Wilson was a pretty good example in that.
Oh my God, man.
He was started off booming, and that kind of
Ridiculous.
set him up high, and then he kind of trickled off near the end, and he had inconsistent weeks. Then you're like, okay, well, which Russ are you getting if you draft him this year?
100%. Well, there's definitely resources out there to look at. They talked about Mike Gesicki's an example just to support what you were saying. He's 10-6 last year, and they're like, but how many times did he provide tight end one numbers? And it was like
Right.
one, the top 10, let's say. It was 5 of
Yeah.
16 weeks. So yeah,
Right.
he's the TE6, like you're saying. Oh, what was the bird's eye ranking? Well, he was the tight end 6. But in reality, he was a startable player 5 times, right? And if you had started him in those times, he was he was a great start. So I'm 100% with you. When I step back and I look at a guy like Keenan and I look at him getting that pickup grade, he's getting the more consistent player and he's getting the pickup grade. So I personally think that Ed won that trade.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think Ed won just because the 3. So it was probably like if it was no picks involved, it's just a even middle ground, and then Ed turns a 6 into a 3. I'd say Ed wins that.
I'm 100% with you. Okay, so next trade, and this is an interesting trade because we had talked about this before the preseason week 1. My personal opinion would have been different, but when we look at what happened, Cody brought in Myles Gaskin, the RB27, and he had to accept the round 8, 10, and 11, which are 3 of the last 4 rounds in our draft.
Which Cody will tell you he likes. He says he loves those rounds, right? That's Cody's thing. I always find studs in there, and I'm always top whatever. But
I think that's him just trying to sell us on the shitty hand that he's been dealt a few times. But I took Lamar in the 8.
Yeah.
I mean, it's doable. I took Jimmy in the original 13th. So, but he sent to he sent to Ed. So keep in mind, this is for the RB27. He sent a round 2, which was in the middle, it's the 15th, and then a 4 and a 6. The important part there is my brother's draft, Cody's draft, went from respectable to nothing. Like he doesn't pick until the 6th round.
Did Cody not get Claypool in that draft or the trade as well?
He may have got Claypool, actually. The reason I don't think I have him here is because I don't believe he's keeping him.
I think he is from our conversations.
Well, if he's keeping him, it means that he has to drop somebody. And if we take a quick peek here, just to actually confirm.
So here's how I feel about it. I'm just not a Myles Gaskin guy. I just don't like.
Yeah, he'd have to drop Galladay,
which I'm pretty sure maybe, I don't know.
But yeah, so I mean, what do you think of Gaskin? I mean, okay, so I did a comparison on these trades just to kind of level this conversation in a direction that makes sense. So if you look at the 3 running backs that were acquired, and we'll talk about these other deals in a second, but the top running back that was available was Joe Mixon, and he cost the team that paid for him a 1-2-4. Okay. Then we go to the next best, which was David Montgomery, which cost a 2-2-4. And then we went to Myles Gaskin. So you went from the RB10 to the RB16. Now you're going to the RB27. And Gaskin cost a 2-4-6. So in terms of like the market price, it definitely reflects, I think, the declining value. But when you're talking about dropping a guy like Leonard Fournette, who's splitting a backfield with Jones, trade all of your draft picks for a guy that's ranked 3 spots ahead, I don't. And then, so I was okay with it at the beginning because my brother obviously saw something in Gaskin. Gaskin is now taking second team reps. Malcolm Brown looks like the clear-cut starter there.
Yeah, and Malcolm's going to take touches no matter what. Malcolm Brown took touches away. He takes touches from any teams he's ever been on, right? Like last year, him and Henderson split the backfield, and Brown got a lot of goal line work.
Vulture work.
Yeah. Vulture work. I just don't see where I have Myles Gaskin. I see him as a volume dependent low end RB2. So I don't think a 2-4-6 is really. I think Cody could have probably drafted similar production with his second, or packaged a 2-4, moved up in the second, and still
done something.
Or unless Claypool is a keeper and he moves Galladay, and then this has more bits to it. But if I just look at 2-4-6 and then I look at Gaskin, I'm not sold on Gaskin. Again, I think it's Malcolm Brown's there, and was Selvon Ahmed?
Ahmed, yeah.
They have running backs there. I think he's the clear-cut passing option. And I think he's just volume dependent, and at best case, he's kind of a low end running back too. So I think Cody. I'm not on the gas man train, unfortunately. It's just,
I can get behind the move in this climate, but I just don't know. My thing would be this, okay? And I'm not chirping the trade. What I'm saying is, I truly believe if you waited, you would have been able to give him less for Gaskin, and then you're not expecting as much in return. Because at the end of the day, you called him a low end RB2. That's exactly where he's ranked.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't return value as an RB2, he's a bust. And I just see there being a lot of risk with the way I saw the team deploy their backs on the weekend. So I honestly look at the trade and I go, Ed, he got out of a risky situation, and he
and
Cody's
Ed's
draft.
Savvy.
Oh, this was a great deal for Ed.
Ed, there's a reason Ed doesn't want Gaskin, and whatever, he'll spin his tongue however he needs to be like, oh, I just don't like this, or don't like this. But here's the real truth of it: he's volume dependent, which also makes him injury susceptible, and also the guy was a 7th round draft pick. He wasn't some super stud coming out of college where you just know you're going to feed him the ball.
Was he a 7th?
Shit work. Like, he's done a lot. I think he's a 7th round draft pick. And he had some good numbers in some situations. But again, when you look deep, and I looked into some of his numbers, Miami was kind of they were like a border team that wasn't really winning games by blowouts. They were behind a lot. And Gaskin gets a lot of dump off quick 10 yards at the end of games where they're just like trying to march the field and the defense is in a prevent, and they're dumping it off to Gaskin, and he gets 8 yards off the sideline, 12 yards off the sideline. So he was making a lot of his reception average is pretty high.
Oh, dude, I was going to support what you're saying. His last 3 games resulted in 2 or 3 of his biggest receptions. So that garbage section of the season really inflated, because he actually struggled in the reception game early on in the season. They were discussing this on one of the industry pods. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. He is a circumstantial RB.
But he had over 18 touches a game last year, so he got lots of volume. So it's easy to make when you get lots of touches. You get 18 touches, 20 touches a game. You can look good. I think a lot of guys look good in that role.
Well, so let's look at a risk to a running back, a guy at quarterback that runs the ball. Well, they had Fitz and Tua splitting, and Tua had the handcuffs on last year as a rookie. This year, he's going to be running all over the place. That's not good for a shared backfield, right? So just kind of closing the loop on this trade, I think Ed wins this trade cleanly.
Makes his draft real nice, gets a 2,
Real
4,
nice.
6, drops a guy like Gaskin he doesn't want, dumps some picks to Cody 8, 10, 11. For me, I'd much rather be on Ed's side of this. I just think the opportunities are more with the picks than they are with a Miles Gaskin. And I kind of have a Miles Gaskin. I got James Robinson. He's like that. He's Miles Gaskin. He's volume dependent, like undrafted guy. He needs volume to be good. If he gets the volume, he's good. So no one wants to give me loves for James Robinson, so I'm not going to give love for Miles Gaskin if everyone has an issue with this volume dependent running back situation. So that's where I stand on it. But good job, Ed. I think it was a nice trade. And
and I think it'll start to come clear here what his game plan was. It's like, okay, well, he moved Gaskin out, and he was one of the listed keepers. So the next trade, the third trade, I think will really crystallize, I think, what he was trying to do. So this was an interesting one. Reynolds brings in Amari Cooper, who's the WR17, probably a little bit suppressed because of his injury that he's been dealing with.
Yeah.
He's definitely shown that he's a number one capable. And with Dak back, I mean, that's just, they were on pace for over 6,000 yards before Dak went down. So,
I think Amari resurges this year for sure.
So he gets Cooper and he gets a 5, and then he sends to Ed Justin Herbert, the QB 9 and a 10.
I don't know why Reynolds he goes and snakes Herbert off Cody last year for peanuts, and Herbert looks like he's going to be pretty good. Although he had kind of a wonky end of the season, all the data's there to give the guy his chance. But Ed gets a stack, which ties back into his Keenan Allen move.
That's where we're going with that.
He got the upgrade, so he gets the stack and he gets paid to do the stack, and then and he drops Gaskin right out of the fucking sky. So I mean, looking at what Ed's doing, I would much rather have the stack. It's high risk, high reward. It's either going to turn out or not turn out, but. Keenan Allen always is making catches, whether Herbert is shit or not. He's still going to get the ball to Keenan a lot of the time.
100%.
And it can be huge, right? So, and I do like Cooper, and I do think he resurges. I think Seaton's going to eat into his carries a bit. There's a lot of mouths to feed. You got Seat there's going to want touchdowns, and Dak is mobile on his feet, and Seaton's coming into his second year. He's going to want balls, but I think Cooper will have a good year if Dak stays healthy. But at the end of the day, a QB wide receiver stack, and when you look at the compounding of getting Cody's draft picks in, and he got Keenan, and he got a draft pick in, I think one thing we can say about these last 3 trades is Ed is shaping his team up for he does.
Man, so there's another trade. Let's skip to that one right now so we can really show the big picture of what he's done this offseason. So the 5th trade, the 4th of 5, and his last one was he went out and got Joe Mixon, the RB10, who I'm a huge fan of. He was drafted the same year as Dalvin Cook. A lot of people don't understand. He's still young.
Oh, yeah.
He has that old vibe because since he does that to you, but...
Dude, I fucking love Mixon.
You do too?
And I wasn't going to tell anyone that, but he's got every opportunity this year to be an absolute clear-cut fucking beast. And I love Burrows. And I love what they're doing. Their line's getting better, but Burrows makes them fucking respect the throw enough for Mixon to open up some holes.
Yep.
I think they're going to be a flashy O this year. They got some big shooters, and Mixon was just he's a top 10 running back no matter whose list you're looking at, really.
Big time.
Maybe a top 15 for sure. He's a top 15 running back on everyone's list. Ed comes in the league and lands a top 10 guy, in my opinion, which everyone's fighting for. There's not enough of them. Everyone in the league can have one, and somehow Ed comes in here and gets one, and it's great. So
it's the old adage: guys they fall in love with their players. Not Ed, not Silva. I'm not saying those guys, not you or I.
Yeah.
But guys look at their keepers and they're like, well, you know what? They're good enough, and it's you think they're good enough. But when Ed silently collects, so let's just close the loop on the trade. So he sent the duo, Nielsen and Silva, a 1, a 2, and a 4.
Yeah.
The 1 was a late one. And he got Mixon, and he had to receive 3 8-round picks, okay? So what did Ed do? Ed brings in Justin Herbert, a young stud quarterback. He bolsters his running back core, which already features Saquon Barkley. So he comes in and complements Saquon with Joe Mixon. And then he stacks up Keenan Allen. He swaps Amari Cooper's WR1 injury-riddled history with Keenan Allen's high floor and the stack. It's remarkable. It really truly is.
And when you look at what Cody paid for a Gaskin, which was like, because Ed's one was late, so the one looks good, but like, it was really, you could call it a 2 if you really wanted to, right?
It was.
So it kind of could be like value. It could be a 2-2-4, and Cody paid a 2-4. But that's a humongous jump. You got Joe Mixon to Myles Gaskin. You're talking about a potential top 5 guy. To like maybe if Gaskin plays 20, he cracks the top, or plays good, he cracks top 20, 15 area. It's just like
maybe
for not that much big of a difference in picks. So and
it was masterful.
Since he got rid of Gio this year too, he's out the door.
That's right, he's in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean everything I read about this guy, I just love it more. Yeah, so Gio's out. So it's like that's Mixon's backfield, man. 24 opportunities a game is what he averaged.
Oh, dude. Listen, it's not even close. Like anyone that looked at their running backs and didn't go, I want an RB1, didn't understand the point of the game. Like you're playing Monopoly if you made that decision, and you're not buying every property you land on. And that's not how you win. Okay, that's how you lose and pay rent. Yeah.
Right?
So when I look at what Ed's done, he's really stepped his game up. And if you go and review the power rankings, he's high for a reason. He's single-handedly improved his stock more than anyone else this offseason.
Yeah. I mean, now, I think his injuries have been kind of like that's been the issue, right? So can he stay healthy?
Yep.
But
that's it. Just kind of looping back into that final trade. Ed, so in that trade, I believe that Ed won that trade. Even though the one goes the other way, I'm saying that I give Ed the win. What do you say?
I do too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think Ed wins that. I think Ed win all of them. Because who's he going to get with that one? If it was the 1-1 and we're talking, or like a 1-2 and he's getting a rookie impact guy, but it's not. I've done this draft enough to know like you got to be pretty. You can fluke out in the later rounds of a 1. You get a vet guy that's going to put up numbers like Galladay or something, like someone that could come in and have a big year. But at the end of the day, you give me
a DJ Moore,
pretty much a clear cut. Yeah, RB1 on RB1 for a 1. I'd pretty much do that all day. I'd send my
Michael Carter.
I'd send my 1-3-3. Yeah.
That's what you'll get there, right? Whereas Mixon's established. You go that way, it's a turnkey RB1 ceiling, right?
Yeah, I mean, good on Ed. I mean, I was in the ring for a Mixon, but I got keeper issues as it is, so this is not the year. I might do a post draft shaky or something, but so yeah, I was after him. Well done, Ed.
Well, and so then that leads to the last trade, the final trade, and this was the duo moving their final excess keeper. So they had Mixon, they moved him out. They had McLaurin, they moved him out, and then they had David Montgomery, the RB16. And Rosie, I think this was a pretty good trade. I mean, David Montgomery, in my opinion, doesn't really have much competition there.
Yeah. I like Montgomery. I was in on this too.
Were you?
Yeah. I liked it. I wouldn't pay what Rosie did. I just didn't have those 2s, and my 1-6 would have had to have been involved, which is the reason I didn't. Had I had some 2s to throw around, and I could have probably gone a 2-2-3, I would have. But my 1-6 had to be in play, and I just didn't see the value being that big. So, but I think Rosie did a great job here. I mean, Rosie still has work to do because he's got too much shit on his bench that he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and he's not pulling any triggers, and he's not really like going after it, and he's kind of just like, oh, I don't even know what the fuck's going on. So yes, Montgomery's good, but he needs to like tie up the rest of, he needs to clean up. He needs to do some housekeeping. Either try and get some guys gone, or just, I don't know. But regardless, Montgomery fits into his lineup nice. So from just looking at the trade, I think it was a win-win because Kyle Silva and Nielsen couldn't keep him. But I think Rosie gets a really good guy with some good high upside. And he's cheaper than fucking Gaskin.
That's what I'm saying.
Like he's not 4.
he's not necessarily cheaper, but like if you look at his ceiling, okay, there's a
Kind of,
realm.
because Rosie got back a 6.67, and Cody took on an 8.10.11.
That's true. That is true.
So you're like keeping better draft picks, you're giving a little bit more on the front end, and you're getting a consensus running back 15 instead of a
Or
running
running back
back
27.
25 plus. Yeah,
Yeah, and see for me when I'm
whatever,
looking at when I'm
So I
looking at
mean,
the
for
values,
me,
when I'm looking at the values, man, there's no realm where David Montgomery, sorry, there's no realm where uh, Miles Gaskin finishes as an RB1. I mean, very low number of times that's the outcome.
yeah, I don't see that happening. I mean,
Right. And so
maybe,
whereas
but
David Montgomery I could easily see that happening. I could
sure.
easily see him finishing as an RB1.
Well, he's the guy there. He's
Right.
the guy.
That's right.
Whereas, do we know Gaston's the guy? Because I don't
I
know.
did think
Malcolm
he was,
Brown's a
man.
capable running back.
Oh man, honestly, before the preseason that I just watched, I would have sworn to you, I was stoked for my brother. He's going to hear this and he's going to be like, "Fuck my brother. He told me that he thought it was a great deal. I did think it was a good deal until I watched them
Yeah.
literally ignore Gaskin." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"For who? A journeyman in Malcolm Brown? Doesn't
Yeah,
show
but
me much confidence, man."
did Malcolm Brown, was he not with LA when they had Gurley and he spelled Gurley for shit?
Man, he
Okay,
looked
if you
like he
can
could have
spell
a team.
Gurley, you can spell fucking Gaskin for sure. So like, and
He
that
looked
was
very
Gurley
good.
prime.
Prime.
He's I read about because I had Malcolm Brown last year for a little bit.
You did, I remember.
I actually a lot of it, and I read a lot about him. He's a coach's son, so he knows the game very well. He learns playbacks
Cerebral.
well. He's a very smart football player. Is he the most athletic guy? No. Is he going to be like the beast? No. But he can spell. He can spell running backs and take carries away, and he's a big, thick goal line guy.
Well, and that's
So
okay. So
I'm not hating on Gaskin, but
no, but it's an example, right?
He's 25 or worst on anyone's list, and Cody always finds some fucking list I haven't seen, and I look at 6 of them on consensus rankings, and he'd be like, "Yeah, Miles Gaskin, he's like a consensus 12." I'm like, "Where? Fuck, England?
Dated like 2024 Premier League.
Yeah."
Or something.
So I think he's a high motor guy, hard work guy, and I'm not meaning to pick on Gaskin, but when I look at David Montgomery,
yeah.
Here, who's I think I have him ranked out in the top 15. I think he's my RB 14 or something. I love him, and I love that opportunity for him. And
too,
I liked watching him play last year. And I fucking hate Chicago, so there's no love for him.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Well, okay, so I say Rosie got that W then on that. I think it was pretty even, but I think that for Rosie, that's a huge impact guy for him to pull on.
No, I like that for Rose.
Okay, so let's shift over here. We got a little bit of time left. So I wanted to drop a couple of news tidbits. So the first one I wanted to throw down will affect Cody Powell. It was regarding Jamal Williams in Detroit.
Okay.
Apparently he's now handling the first team reps.
I can see that.
Swift has got a groin. I don't know if it's strictly injury, but it'll definitely be something to follow.
Swift's tough because I like him, but God, I hate Detroit.
Oh man,
if he was almost like, I don't want to say anywhere else, but there's a lot of places he could thrive, but I don't know if Detroit's one of them right now, unfortunately. But
Jared Goff is not a premium quarterback. Like he's not a great guy to have, lead your team to fantasy stardom. So
no, they got a new coach, they got a new offensive game plan, they got a new quarterback. Like they're losing their second receiver. Marvin Jones is like their guy.
He's gone. He's in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah,
who stayed? Quintez Cephas or whatever his name is now.
So Jones and Golladay left.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, Jones is in Jacksonville. I'm pretty sure. I know, man. I know. This is what I'm saying. Like when I saw the Jamal Williams, I remember just watching him so many times, being like, if he was not in Green Bay, he would be like he's capable of carrying a team. I would think, and so if he gets an opportunity, I think he might just have might have some nightmares there. And I'm not saying that I'm sure of it, but when I talked to Powell at a pool party we were at a couple weeks ago, he made it clear that Powell or that Swift would potentially be available. So well,
it's gonna be hard hard to sell him now because like it's no secret Detroit is not fucking desirable for fantasy points.
I know.
This
What
can't
I-
be right. Brashad Perryman, Detroit's number one.
Yeah, well, that was the next thing I was going to talk about. He looks like he's going to be their, I mean, their outside guy, their WR1, which is crazy
Oh
because
boy.
his ADP is nonsense. So am I going to be taking him? It depends on where I get him. Like if I can get him in the 6th or 7th or something
I
like that.
mean, someone's got to
Maybe
catch
deal.
the ball, but
Right.
I think Detroit sounds
Exactly.
like they're in a rebuild. But
I mean, that guy that they hired for coach is just, he looks like he's, what, did you hear the thing he said about the coffees he drinks?
so we're gonna bite their kneecaps, guy. No,
Yeah. Did you hear his quote on the coffees?
no.
Man, he goes to Starbucks in the morning at 5 a.m. This is what he
Yeah.
said on one of his pressers. He's like, I get 2 venti pipe roasts, and then I have 2 espresso shots in each, and then I combine it into a big thermos. So he has 2 triple or 2 double, what do they call them, red eyes, where you take the espresso and you put it into the
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah.
He doubles that times 2. Like,
Oh, he's gonna be dead.
man, how
He'll
are
be
you
dead by
still-
week 8. He'll be
Man, like legit. How do you live?
long gone.
Dude, I like coffee, but like I'll have 3 Americanos, which is like 3 shots of espresso, and I'm like jittery.
Yeah,
And, like, this
he's a
guy's doing
fucking
that.
blowhead, but he can't do blow on the sideline, so he just has to chug fucking 8x8
Oh.
fucking cappuccino shots.
He
My
played in the
God.
NFL in the 80s, man. Like those guys were all doing that shit.
Oh yeah, like yeah, 100%. Like you couldn't
Any
be on
given
the team
Sunday?
unless you were cranking back rock stars.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Jamal Williams. So
Yeah.
you think it's just like let's save Swift? He's got a bit of an injury, right? Swift
Groin.
has, yeah.
He's dealing
so
with the groin.
they're just leaving him, just kind of.
I don't know. That's the thing. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
time will tell. But I was wanting to get some actionable news that we could share today, and that was something that just jumped off the page. So the second thing I wrote was about Brashad Perryman.
Well, Swift is also dropping in everyone's rankings.
I know,
Like
because
it's
of
not
this.
just like he is fucking plummeting right now.
Right. So for Powell, it's like when I said he wanted to trade him, it might not be possible. Like you said, it might be hold and pass kind of, unless the situation, the deal makes sense. So the next guy I wanted to look at was we talked about David Montgomery. He limped off at a Saturday's preseason game after the first snap, and he was not
Yeah.
in practice yesterday. So
Yeah, and
stay tuned there, Rose.
Rose. Yeah, I saw that, but I mean, I feel like these guys like they're not trying in camps and preseason really. Like they're just kind of anything. Like if this was a game, I feel like he'd be playing, but
You mean like they're just being a little bit over?
they're just like oh my ankle hurts a bit. I'm not gonna I gotta save this for real game time. Like
yeah.
I'm not gonna play through it in preseason because I mean I think I heard somewhere 16 of the 30 plus quarterbacks that are starting in the league are not participating in preseason games at all, maybe.
Yeah,
which was like a super high number.
Well,
so
man, did you see the Hall of Fame game with Tomlin? He kept B-Roth in there for like the game. It was insane. Nobody could believe it.
Yeah, and he was running Najee right into the third quarter. I'm pretty sure.
Wow, Najee, I think he had 5 or 8 looks. He had I think he had 5 or 8 looks. So yeah, I mean,
it was someone else. I remember they were saying, yeah, it was late. He was playing late into the game, anyways. What else we got?
One of the other storylines that I've been following is Dak Prescott's shoulder. So they have been vague in what they've been releasing, but the tidbits I've picked up are he came back too hot and heavy, and he fatigued the shoulder. It's not a dead arm, but it's not. They're saying that the MRIs don't cause concern, but they just need to rest him, and so it's kind of like, how does that make sense? So it'll be kind of wait and see, right?
Yeah, I mean the other problem with preseason is like teams don't have to tell you shit.
No,
they don't have to fucking disclose anything. They don't have to tell you anything. They don't have any obligations. So
Mm-hmm.
He could have a fucking blown out shoulder for all we know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's it, but like
No, it's
they
not.
don't tell you shit. So like it's
I
all
mean,
speculation, but it is cause for concern, especially shoulders on quarterbacks. It's like
I
I can
mean,
handle something else, leg
man.
or a knee. Tom Brady
Oh
played with
man.
a fucking broken knee and won a Super Bowl.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, like there's very few things that worry me about a quarterback, and that's one of them. The shoulder. Like Romo's career went in because I mean,
Yeah.
Peyton's was his neck. Like it's just you can't really mess around with a few things, and that's definitely one of them. So I don't think it's too much cause for concern right now, but I thought I'd bring it up because obviously, if you look at a team like Loudon's, where he's got Zeke and Dom, there's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So then I wanted to just, I guess, take a quick look at the keeper power, the preseason power rankings. I released them on the page the other day. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see them.
Yeah, I got them open right now. I was reading it.
I had you lower than I thought I would, but when I worked through the process, the problem was the loss of acres for you uh, was huge. And I make a comment actually that I don't think there were many teams that would be able to hold up as well as you did if they lost their RB1. Um, if you look at it,
Well, it says 2020 prediction. I'm almost
that
in
was last year.
disbelief at the ranking Dorian comes in at. Yeah, but
So I open with last year's prediction, and then the bottom there is this year's. So
yeah,
like
it
the
just
one,
says Diesel will not agree with this placement, but ultimately the injuries have derailed the outlook. Single player affecting your championship outlook comparison to 2012. The progress is undeniable. Akers, Jones, and JR versus Johnson, Gordon's last year. Yeah. I mean, God, you're not giving me any love for Rogers coming back.
I mean, the
That should
problem
rocket
is,
me up there.
oh, I
MVP,
mean,
MVP.
the problem was, this is the problem. The running backs combined with your age just didn't give me. So like, if you look at the guy directly ahead of you, he's got Zeke and Taylor. There's nothing there that you can put on the table right now. When you had Akers, it was a completely different story.
Yeah.
Completely different story,
I feel
and
you.
so,
No. Well, last year I was ranked lower and I finished top 4. So if I'm at least in the middle of the pack, then we'll see. I never get love in your rankings anymore, which is fine. It's good.
I mean, you finished 4th last year. So, I mean, obviously something, I had the preseason as 11 last year. And so, you're obviously starting a little higher. And I mean, when we did the comparison between last year and this year, man, Melvin Gordon, Odell Beckham, like you got rid of those guys at a premium, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I put myself at number 1. Obviously, I'm returning champion, et cetera, et cetera. But the rest is interesting. So we had Silva at number 2, Ed at number 3. I wouldn't have put Ed there before these trades. He would have been somewhere down, sort of in the range that you are.
Surprised Ed's that high.
Man, Saquon and Mixon now. I mean,
they're saying Saquon might not even be playing for a couple weeks of the season.
I mean, that can be the case, but when he comes back, he's disgusting, right? There's no question how important he is to that team,
Yeah.
Then we get past those guys into the next tier where it's my brother Chalmers and Powell. So those guys and Loudon, sorry, that's the middle tier, right? That's sort of like they have the potential. It's just not, look at Jake's team with CMC and CEH and Ridley and Tyler. There's many outcomes where I think he finishes and potentially, makes the playoffs and makes noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My brother with the Josh Allen Steph Diggs combo, it's hard to predict, but Chubb pops. All of a sudden now he's got something to build off of. Same with Paul, Paul's got some really impressive Justin Jefferson, Kittle, DK. But then you're definitely not in the rebuild category because after you, when we get to 9, those players are ranked together. Those are all the rebuilding teams, if you will, the Craig, the Rosie, the Valdez, and the Reynolds.
The problem I have with these rankings is you can only rank them off of your keepers or your projected keepers. because
Exactly.
Cody's draft's going to be fucking disgusting. So he may have more top end talent than me, but my draft's pretty decent. So like I can
Mhm.
fill out my team a lot better for week 1 than Cody's
It
going to
just
be
comes.
able to in terms of just like higher average talent. So I mean, these are almost like okay, the real preseason rankings have to happen after the draft. You know what I mean?
And that's where we really get to see the final results, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of going to be like, okay, we're not looking at numbers on a page, we're looking at names, right? So now it's like, okay, I can actually see
Right. Yeah.
what your team looks like. The problem is, like if we look at your top pick was the 6th overall, you're not going to get anything in keeper territory, right? So your keepers have to be good. If they're not good, the draft can help you, but outside of Craig, Rosie, and Valdez, who are getting Najee, Chase, and Pitts, outside of those 3 guys,
Mhm.
like you're not going to get somebody that moves my needle necessarily.
Do you
So
know
if you're
those 3 guys are going, or are you just
no,
projecting?
I mean I know
Okay.
Najee's going 1-1 to Craig
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure. I know that. I
Um,
know the other 3. I've got 6 guys that are rookies on my list.
you have such a great pick, man. You get to just sit back and wait for someone to slip up. Like
So when you say it's not a keeper, I'm going for a keeper. I'm going for a guy that's not going to probably produce this year, but like by the end of the season, he's going to be. I think I know who's dropping to me too, because I know the first 3 are going for sure, and then so
there's some nice
I got
picks,
my
man.
chops locked on somebody.
There are
Oh yeah,
some
there's some good
nice,
stuff.
like I wish I could have moved for a first round pick because there's a couple. Your pick is beautiful. If it falls out right, man, you could have an acceptable player or
It's not too
one of
late,
those
man.
guys.
You know what I got. You know what Daddy wants. It's time to
You
get
want
out
that
of him.
Devontae boss, eh?
Yeah, I mean,
Cool.
I'm only gonna get 1 year out of it, so
Well, the season's very young, my friend.
well, we'll see if
We
we can
may
get a trade before the pod drops. A little foreshadowing. I'll
we
text
drop
you
it. It's
after.
already outdated.
Yeah.
What do you think
I
of
think
week
we were
one
close a
schedule
couple
there?
times. If we're being
Oh, dude, before we get to the schedule, you and I had a deal. If you had said there was a Friday night about 2 months ago where I had said to you, "How close are we on this Acres deal?" and you were that close to offloading Acres on me and making it was this close, man. I'm not kidding. It was this close.
yeah, I know. It was
Imagine.
pretty high. It was a pretty high price point. Yeah. I still think I made the right move. Maybe not now with the injury, but if he comes back and he's good next year, we won't even be talking about this. But yeah, you remember when Dorian waited on Akers? But
Cook did the same thing. I had to wait on Cook. He did the same
yeah,
thing, man.
fucking
And
annoying.
it is super annoying, but when it pays
It
off,
chews up
you
a keeper
just
spot.
okay, so let's in the last couple minutes here, let's take a peek at the schedule for week one. Have you taken a look at who you're matched up against?
Yeah, I saw I was playing Cody. That's a tough one.
That is a tough one,
That's
man.
a tough one because there's his team's fuck. Last year he was just firing on all cylinders.
Oh
His
man.
quarterback's putting up 50 a week.
Oh man.
There was a way Cody beat you this year. If
He beat me.
Cody,
He was the
no,
only
no,
team.
no, no, in the finals, there's a way Cody wins in the final
Oh,
four. If it doesn't reseed and he plays you week 2, he beats you, and he had the highest scoring final of everything. So the reseeding just fucking stabbed him in the face. Cody's a champion if it doesn't reseed. So yeah, Cody's gonna fucking fire
hey,
team. It all depends on his draft.
if the rules were different, if we weren't playing checkers and we were playing Parcheesi, then maybe he won.
I'm just saying he's in the realm. He's
Oh
in
man, he was the only team to put an L on me last season.
yeah. Or you go undefeated.
I mean,
Yeah, it's
well
fucked
done,
up.
Cody. Well fucking done,
I
man.
honestly, it's so hard. I'm not going to make predictions right now because the draft is everything. That's the other 2/3 of your team is going to be how you draft. It's not going to be like it's not my 5 keepers versus his 5 keepers. It's his 7, 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 versus my 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5. That's where it's going to be won. So, but
100%
yeah,
accurate.
I don't want to play him first for personal reasons because I hate losing to you and Cody about more than
Is this the
anything.
closest
And,
is this
a
the
hard first
closest
week.
you two have been?
In terms of like team?
Yeah, because I've never heard you
No,
say
he
you
was
don't
better
like
last
him.
year. He was better, like flat out better than me last year. Even his shit boys were fucking killing it. Like he was just better.
There's a little bit of an
My team
internal
wasn't even good
rivalry.
last year.
There's a little bit of an internal rivalry there, which I like. I feel like one of the things I wanted to talk about was like who your rivals were and like who you might think some of the other rivalries were. And so obviously there's a little bit of a rivalry between you and my brother.
Yeah, I mean, you and him, I probably dislike the losing to the most.
Yeah.
But we've had this since you're probably the most I hate losing to, actually.
Yeah,
just because
same.
we've always been competitive since we were like kids. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
more than
100%.
just the fucking. I hate losing to you. I hate losing to everyone else, like Rosie, Reynolds. Like, yeah, I don't love. I hate losing in general, but it doesn't sting as much to see you and Cody every day.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And it's
So
like,
you gotta
Reynolds
swallow
compound
it
me. I
down.
might not talk to him for 2 weeks, other than yeah, that's hard. What about you? I mean, there's obviously the big bro, little bro, fucking rivalry.
Yeah, I
But
mean the thing is, Cody, like, and not to put him down, but like, you and I have, we've met in the finals. There's been some bloody matches worth a lot. I mean, like, he's never really had anything over me in fantasy. And so, when I look at the tight matches I've had, they've been with you, they've been with Ed, they've been with Reynolds, they've been in
yeah,
playoff matches, they've been for your entire season on the line. You know what I mean?
money.
Like, I beat you in the finals by a fraction of a point.
Yeah, it was tough.
There's like $1,200 on the line, and here's you and I biting our nails down to the final quarter of a playoff game while we watch everything we've planned and put forth effort for come down to that.
Yeah,
And like when you do that, that's where the rivalries are really like
I
sharpened.
know. Yeah, and it's
You
weird
know?
because like Ed's, I almost don't. I mean, again, I hate losing in general, but I don't get mad when I lose to Ed. I'm like, fuck it, it's
He's
good.
good.
He's a
Yeah.
fucking good. He's a good GM. It's like losing to like Dylan in hockey. Like Dylan's knowledge is just so deep. You gotta come right or don't come at all.
Or
And
don't even
Ed's the
show
same
up.
way. So Ed pounds me. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's okay. I gotta look at some different shit because
100%, man.
so.
100%.
But
He makes you up your game, right? I mean, I wouldn't say he's my rival. I would say that I would say that it's probably between you and I think rivalries can grow and change. Like I don't think Silva and I ever had a rivalry, and obviously this year we're one of the super trilogy rivalries, but that's because both of our teams are good. And it's like when Detroit and Colorado and the NHL back in the late 90s were both good. They didn't have an existing rivalry, but they were so good and they kept meeting,
right.
And there was just a rivalry born.
Also, Silva's an original, so there's been
Yeah.
a lot of matches. 11 years. I was talking to him the other day. It's like 11 years of this league. It's a long time for a fantasy league, man.
Man, it's a long time for anything.
It's a lifetime, really.
You're in school for that long, bro.
I know, that's crazy, man.
Like there's 12 grades.
Yeah, fucking the OG table, right? It's like the OGs, me, you, Ed. Ed's like come back, and Silva's kind of left and come back. And are you and I the only ones who've been here since the very beginning and haven't left?
No, so it's you, me, Craig, Corey.
Craig was original?
Yep.
Loudon was original? Oh yeah, Loudon was original. Okay.
He took Michael Vick in the draft.
I forgot Craig was too. I thought he came after Neil or something. God.
No, it was
wasn't Andrew Van Vleck in the draft originally?
Yes, Andrew Van Vleck was one of them, and there was a guy that worked at the Brick with me. I can't even remember his name. Those two left, and then on came Nielsen, and then we expanded as well, and that's when my brother and Powell joined.
We've expanded twice, right? Yeah.
We went from 8 to 10, and then we went from 10 to 12.
Crazy. Anyways, let's getting back here. There's the finals rematch also that week with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
between the duo.
And the duo right off the bat. And that'll be good.
First of three, right? Man.
So between you, me, the duo, and Cody W, we're not all going undefeated. So there's going to be two of those big teams. I mean, I guess I'm technically the worst since I'm ranked out as 8th.
Here's the thing, man.
I should start 0-1, but the two finals.
You have a great team. like Rogers can put up 60 points. He was the number one point getter last year. He won the MVP, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, would I be surprised if you beat Cody in week 1? No, I wouldn't.
No, I
at
won't
all,
be
man.
surprised either. Definitely not. But well, yeah, we'll see. It all comes down to the draft, man. This is too
You're a
easy to
big
be making
believer in it.
predictions.
Yeah.
100%. It's not my 5 versus his 5. We put more than that on the field, so it's going to come
100%.
down to depth, and it always comes down to depth, man. So the draft, we'll see. Then I'll start making my predictions of like my real, and then we'll track that this year. Who's right on the game of the weeks and. Yeah.
Well, that's why I like to do that's why I like to bring forward my previous year predictions, because it's like, in some cases I was right. Like I told on the Cody trade, I was like, time will tell, and it did, right? And then other times, it's, I wasn't quite as bullish on my repeat, and in hindsight, I should have been. I just wasn't because of my superstition, right? But it is cool to look back for sure, man. See how things stack up, but. All right, so in closing here, I just wanted to see a couple things. So in terms of live draft etiquette, I'm going to have those penalty flags, and we've got a few other things. I mean, I don't think there's much to be said other than, giving everybody their privacy. So, like, obviously, like, I'm not going to fuck around with your little area. I'm not trying to scoop in on your draft lists or anything like that. But other than that, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot that's offside. I've seen other drafts with rules and shit. I'm like, what? We're all grown men now,
No, I don't think. I think the draft's fun. It's I think fucking with people to some degree, but like we're all pretty respectful. We're all grown now. No one's trying to fucking dice anyone over.
Yeah, trying to snipe your homework kind of thing,
Yeah. I think it'll run smooth. I've known all these guys now for a long time, so
exactly.
It's not like a bunch of misfits.
Did you get any? I posted that I wanted the guys to start sending the premiums to you. Obviously, your league treasurer. So
I got 2 so far.
Okay.
So I saw them rolling in. So yeah, if you guys want to send it to me directly.
Awesome.
DorianH@live.ca, and you can just send it to me, and I'll track all that. And any other housekeeping items?
No, I think we're good. I think in the closing piece or the closing section of the rankings, I put a few items just regarding the trade deadline and those things, and also regarding we're not tanking, we don't bench players, etc. So if you guys want to just do a quick recap on that before, I'm just looking forward to a great season. Dorian and I have both been making some investments into some podcast quality equipment, so you guys can continue to expect high quality content creation from League Office. I'm excited.
Yeah. And we're going to try and film some of the draft too, just for some promotional stuff. And some
I think that'll be really cool.
And so that'll be cool. And then I guess we'll do a post draft. Will we have another one before the draft, you think? Probably not, maybe. We might do one, like a pre-draft.
I was going to say we could even do one from the draft, like in the lead up. And then just kind of chop it off and then jump right in,
Maybe we should take like 5 minutes with each guy and just see like.
That's a great idea.
Everyone on the podcast for 5 minutes, do live, and then just see how they feel about the season, who they're worried about, if they think what teams they think.
That's a banger of an idea, man. That is a banger.
So maybe we should. You and I can talk. We'll see how much time. Yeah. The draft will roughly take about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
then there'll be time. So why don't we say, like, I don't know, if you can dedicate 2.5 hours to 3 hours, I'll be there for 3 hours for sure. We got food coming, beer coming, the draft, there's play music, then there'll be a little bit of war room stuff after the draft. So if we can do our podcast for about an hour, or we can do it live, and then we'll just get everyone will step in and just chat. We'll have
almost like a live booth, like
made up. So
Mayock and Eisen.
That's right. Yeah,
I'm down with that.
Maybe give. That'd be cool. All right, well, we can iron out the details on that, and then we'll make some fun of this. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so in closing, gents, let's make sure that you all RSVP on this post, and if you also could send me your 3 walkout songs, I'll make sure to get that updated.
Yep, I'm RVSPing now, and I'll send you my walkout songs tonight.
Nope. Awesome. Sounds good, man. All right,
thanks guys, for joining, guys. Signing off. we will see you next time.
Cheers, gents.